Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome back. Hope you're all having a great day. Today, we're going to be going over the Wingman, which is probably the strongest gun in the game, but there are some misconceptions that come with this gun that everyone has to know about. So sit back while we go over the stats, the strats, and the best ways to make this gun more effective for you. Now, first, we're going to go into some misconceptions that come with the Wingman, and that is that it is the most overpowered gun in the game at all times. Now, in the right hands, it probably is the best gun in the game right now. It does a lot of damage per shot, and we're going to talk about why that isn't always the case, though. People have to learn that just because it is considered the best gun in the game amongst the pros, it doesn't mean that moves well into the general population. So before we get into any of the damage stats and just the number stats in general, let's talk about a few misconceptions that come with this gun that you should really know about. Now, one of the first misconceptions is that you should always pick this gun up. And sadly, that isn't the case. Even though the gun is good, you have to determine what type of player you are and if this is really the gun that is more effective for you. For example, if your favorite gun is the R301 and you shred with it and you're really good with it and you see a Wingman, and sometimes I see people pick it up because they think, oh, it's the best gun in the game, I should always have this. It's so rare, quote unquote, that I should pick it up whenever I see it, since I always see the pros doing good with it and shredding with it. But that's just not the way you should think. The one thing that a lot of people don't talk about is just how much you need to be good at aiming in order to make the Wingman work. And I know a lot of people pick it up and they aren't too good with it. And, there are times where I fight somebody with a Wingman and I should be losing. I'm super hurt and one shot would down me. And I'm able to kill them because they just can't land their shots. And you have to be sure and you have to be competent in your aim to make sure that you're able to hit those shots in order to make the Wingman effective. Because honestly, if your aim is pretty bad, then there's no reason to pick it up. And you'd be better off with a Spitfire or an R301 or something automatic. Something that doesn't take as much aim and as much precision, because honestly it's just going to hurt you in the long run. Now with that out of the way, let's get into the stats of the Wingman. The Wingman does a body shot damage counter of 45 and a headshot damage of 90. Now this is really good damage, which means that you might take 4 or 5 shots to down someone, or maybe 3 if you hit headshots, or 2 headshots in a row or something like that. So it's a pretty good gun, but again, you have to hit your shots. Now let's get into the best attachments for this gun. Now I always mention that the extended mag is a must, so I'm just not going to mention those anymore in my videos, because you should always be looking for an extended mag no matter what gun you're using. So the first attachment that you should be using and you should be trying to find the most is the skull piercer. Now the skull piercer brings up the headshot damage from 90 to about 101, which is pretty significant, especially if you're good at hitting headshots. Now I know there are people out there that say, oh, I don't aim for headshots, so I don't need a skull piercer. I always aim center mass anyway. But no, don't think like that. Even if you're not aiming for the head, the odds are you're going to hit somebody in the head. The kind of meta in Apex right now is to hop around during a fight. And sometimes this hopping around means that you accidentally hit headshots on them. So even if you're not trying to go for the headshots and you're not too good at hitting them, odds are you're still going to hit them once in a while. So it never hurts to have this as an attachment. So now we're going to talk about what sights are good on the Wingman. No, of course, this is all opinion based. It's all preference. Whatever you guys like, you guys should take. But I'm going to give you guys what I think is the best sights for it and the reasons behind it. So now let's talk with the standard sight, the one that comes with the Wingman. And this is not one of my favorite sights for many reasons. But the main reason is that it tends to block your view from the bottom half of your screen. So whenever you're aiming down with the standard Wingman sight, usually the gun will block you a certain portion of your screen and you can't really see what's behind there. That's why you see a lot of pros whenever they use this sight, they kind of tend to like flick towards the enemy, then flick away, then flick towards the enemy and flick away. Because honestly, if you don't do that, you'll lose track of your enemy even though they're right in front of you. And honestly, the last reason you want to lose a fight is because you can't keep track of where your enemy is going because of your gun. This goes the same for like a Spitfire, for example. The iron sight is so bad that you can't see the majority of your screen. And this kind of goes the same for the Wingman. And I think it's like a balancing thing. You don't want the Wingman to have a really, really good sight because the gun is also really, really good. So you should keep that in mind. And you should probably find a sight as fast as possible. It's not the first thing you should be looking for. But I mean, if it's there, you should most likely take it. Now, of course, all one-time scopes are good for the Wingman. This is probably the preferred way of taking the Wingman. The one-time scope makes it really easy to aim. You don't have to like account for bullet drop or how far they are and stuff like that. And it's pretty much just really reliable. You'll never go bad with the one-times. It's kind of for most games. All FPS shooters have one-time scopes, so you're kind of be trained already if you've played FPSs before. Now, if I had to pick my favorite, it would probably be the red dot, since the red dot does not block a lot of your vision, kind of like the reflex does, which is the round one. I think that's what it's called. Those tend to block a lot of my sights, and they have a big housing, in the middle. But the red dot is my favorite, and so is the holographic, the digital threat, which is super good because that one really comes in handy, especially when you play against Bangalore players that like to smoke the enemies out and then use their holographic, to see you. The holographic just makes it it takes it to a whole another level. Even though I'm not a big fan of the actual sight itself, the fact that you can see through smoke and people are outlined for you just makes it way worth taking. Now we're going to talk about the best playstyles for the Wingman, and this is kind of preference also, but what I've learned is that medium range is the golden range for this gun. There are honestly very few guns that can compete with the Wingman at medium range, and the kind of thing with the Wingman is that it does so much damage really quick if you hit your shots that it kind of scares people. You know, once you take a lot of damage really, really fast, you kind of just jump around and you're just like, oh my god, what the fuck? Like, what's going on? And they go into this panic mode and they start to make mistakes, and this is what you have to take advantage of. Now, the Wingman at far range is not good, okay? Like, you shouldn't be using it, but there are times where you could just take shots. Like, if you have a Wingman and you see someone really far and you have full health, just take shots. Like, I mean, it never hurts to try, but it's not something you should be relying on. Also, the Wingman at close range is also something that you have to, like, learn to use, because it's not like medium range where you have to, like, adjust your aim a little bit to get on somebody. At close range, you're going to have to move across your entire screen, especially if they're jumping around and trying to avoid your shots, which most people are, of course. This means that if you want to be able to be aggressive with the Wingman and jump into people's faces, you're going to have to be comfortable with your aim, and you're going to have to know how far, how far you can go. What are your limits when it comes to aiming? If you don't feel comfortable using the Wingman at close range, then you honestly shouldn't. Because honestly, I'm pretty sure this will get a lot of people killed. A lot of people think that they jump into like fights with Wingmans and they're dizzy and they're shroud, and they just miss all their shots. That's pretty much how I beat Wingman. If I run at people with Wingmans and I just jump into their face, a lot of times they'll miss because they panic. And it takes a lot of focus and a lot of mental preparation to be able to hit shots at close range under stress. So if you're having trouble fighting against people with Wingman, this is probably the best thing to do. Now, another tip for the Wingman is to try to aim where you think people are going, not where they are. So most guns have bullet drop, so you're gonna have to like lead people with any gun, no matter what it is. So you're gonna have to like guess where people are going, guess what they're strafed for. If you notice that someone is strafing left and right, left and right, left and right, then if you see them going left, then just aim for the right and just wait for the shot. But honestly, this is kind of a different mode. So there's a different mode when it comes to playing Apex. After a while, you become aware of the strategies that people do, and you're going to have to keep an eye on people. And instead of just seeing the game as it is, you're going to have to go into another level, ascend mentally, I guess you can say, and become a better player, which is learning to analyze people's like movements or mistakes. If you know that someone strafes the exact same way every time, then you have to learn to catch on to that, and fast, because that's honestly what makes the good players different from like the medium players. They learn and they adapt at an extremely fast rate, and they are aware of all their enemies' mistakes. Now also, let me clarify when is the best time to go for headshots. The best time to go for headshots is from short to medium range. Once you get a little bit past medium, then you should probably go for center mass since it's easier to hit. But when you're close to people, you can see their head clearly, and if your aim is good enough, then you can do massive damage on their head. And odds are that even if you miss the head, you're most likely going to hit the body at close range, so it never hurts to go for that, and can make your Wingman game even better. Now let's talk about team strats with the Wingman. The Wingman is really good because it doesn't use a lot of ammo. You only have 6 shots in the magazine, which means that you won't use ammo like the Spitfire or the Prowler and stuff like that. But it also packs a lot of damage. So if you can have a team that can hit their shots, having 3 Wingmen on your team is deadly. 3 people with competent aim shooting Wingmans, and if they all have scope pictures, can completely shred a team if you learn to focus fire and aim at one person at a time. If you see that a lifeline is out in the open and you all shoot at her, odds are you're going to down her really fast and you can move on to the next enemy. And this is probably what I died to the most, to be honest. There's probably 2 or 3 teams in every game that just carry nothing but Wingmans if they find them. And they're just really hard to deal with. You have to be smart. If your team isn't coordinated, then you're probably going to die. But, this brings me to another topic. Let me talk about the weaknesses of the Wingman. And if you have trouble beating it, let me talk about the best ways to beat them. Now, I'm sure we've all been there where we're mid-fight and we hear that dreaded skull-pierced Wingman. And we're just like, oh my god, like this is it. We're going to die. This thing's going to shred me. And even though you should be scared of it, you should avoid it as much as possible. There are ways around it, and let's get into that. Now, the best way to fight a Wingman, I think, like I mentioned earlier, is to just get up close and personal. With a shotgun, R99, or even a Prowler. Just get into their face and start attacking them, and don't worry about getting shot. You should be trying to avoid shots, but don't be scared of it. In a game like Apex where movement is key, you can kind of tell how good somebody is by the way they move. If you run at somebody and you start running around, sliding, hitting your shots on them, they're going to panic and they're going to miss shots. Unless they're like a super like good player that they can just focus and not get overwhelmed and not panic, they're most likely going to panic and they're going to miss shots. And this is especially true with like an R99 that melts you, with hip fire only. Or even a shotgun. You have a Peacekeeper or a fucking Eva, and you start hitting shots nonstop, they're gonna panic and they're gonna miss shots, and that's what you want. You want to induce panic in them. You have to be really in control and you have to be focused to be able to use the wingman effectively. And once you take that away, it just becomes a handgun. And if they don't hit their shots, then you're gonna live and you're gonna win most of your fights. So if you have the ability to move up on them without getting downed by their wingmans, especially if they have more than one, this is probably what you want to do. And you kind of want to learn to like focus with your team. So if you know that one guy has a wingman, just try to take that guy out first. And once you get that gun off the board, then you have a higher chance of winning that team fight. Now, the last tip I'm going to give you for beating the wingman is to be super far. Now, there's not a lot of guns that can kind of do super far range. A longbow is one of them, maybe a triple take or a Kraber. But if you have like maybe a Spitfire, you can also do it. An R301, maybe you take pop shots. Because honestly, it's really hard to account for bullet drop with the wingman from super far. And it's just really hard to aim overall. And if you can keep, your fights at this distance and you can learn to manage the distance between you and your enemy, then this is also a really, really good strategy that you can use, and it's really viable. And with this, you also have to learn to relocate. So people with wingmans tend to predict where you're going, and they kind of like wait for you to peek out and then take the shot and hurt you and then push you while you're healing. That's kind of the way it works with these guns. So once you do damage on someone, you want to move to a different location and just do damage from somewhere else. Always keep them on their toes. Because once you take the aiming aspect out of the wingman, then it becomes the easiest gun ever. So you always want to make sure that they have that. They have to worry about that. They have to worry about fixing their aim to wherever you are. Instead of, you trying to peek out of the same place, they're kind of going to guess where you're going to peek out of. If you peek out from the top of a house and they shoot you and you do damage on them, and then you peek out again from the same spot, they're just going to leave their crosshair there. And that takes the whole aiming thing out because all they do is wait for you. So you want to make sure that you always have them aiming. And even though you can't always fight it, and sometimes you're just going to lose to people with wingmans because it's such a good gun, you want to make it as hard as possible for them. And that's honestly the best way to higher your chances of winning. So yeah, guys, those are my wingman tips and the best way to fight it. I hope you all learned something and I hope you all enjoyed the video. I would really appreciate if y'all could leave a like down below and sub if you haven't already. And also hit that notification bell so you won't miss any of my future content and guides. I plan on making guides for all the weapons and future legends, so stay tuned for that if you're into that kind of stuff. Also, I stream almost every night on Twitch, so I'm going to leave the link to that below if you want to come join the Plague. That's what I named my following group, which is pretty cool. I think it was given to me by my mod, so I thought it was pretty funny, and I really liked it, so I went along with it. That was a shout out to my mod Trey. Yo, what's up, Trey? I appreciate you, bro. So yeah, guys, I'm going to leave that down below if you guys want to come check it out and get to know me personally. And thank you all so much for the positive support I've been getting in the last few videos. It really means a lot to me. You guys have been, killing it with the likes and stuff. And thank you so much. That really makes my channel grow. And I appreciate that, like from the bottom of my heart. So thank you guys for that. But other than that, I hope you all enjoyed the video. I will see you in the next one. If you guys want a specific weapon covered, make sure to leave that in the comments below. And I will get right on that. Anyways, guys, have a great day. Be safe. Don't make stupid choices. And I will see you all in the next one. Later, guys. Peace out.
Okay, yeah, stay on top, stay on top. Oh, that's free, bro. You have nades?
No, I don't.
Oh, he's lit.
Yeah, no armor.
One right under me, I think.
Oh, he's so lit, dog.
You don't want right under us?
I love you.
Yeah. They're both together, actually. No.
Hold on.
Wraith has purple armor.
I'm gonna die, actually. Fuck.
No. Just fight it. You're good.
Down?
You got one down?
Yeah.
Alright, heal up. Let Anthony take it. 1v1.
Let's go,
Shit.
baby. Oh my god, bro. I almost fucked up at the end.
You're good. Damn, you see how many fucking shots I took too?